You guys, we are facing such a problem in the United States with stray, unwanted, abused, neglected animals, and they need us. We need to be their voice. We need to open up our homes and our hearts to them and give them the love that we deserve.
I don't know how you do it. You are so inspiring, and I wish more people would,
Oh.
see your story and want to get involved because you're really making such a difference. Hello, welcome to MythBarkers, where we make dog parenting easier by sniffing out the facts and debunking dog tales. We have 4 pillars: health and wellness, behavior and training, adoption and rescue, working pets, and influencers. We're so excited about today's guest. You've probably seen her incredible videos on social, the Dodo or Newsweek. This woman is on the ground rescuing countless dogs in the South, helping so many dogs find their forever home. I've been wanting to do this for so long since we met last year at the Pet Summit. I'm really excited to introduce you to Audray Luck, who's the founder and operator of Luck's Rescue. Audray, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Well, let's just get right into it. So you've been operating Luck's Rescue for about a year or so. Tell us what made you want to choose this path.
The path chose me. I'll just start with that.
Okay.
When I moved here to this part of the country, rural northern Georgia, about 5 or 6 years ago, and immediately I recognized that there was a stray dog problem, an animal welfare problem, and it didn't take long before I realized that nobody was doing anything about it, and that there was no resources here. There's no animal shelter, there's no animal control, there's very few laws that are protecting the animals in the county, and no one to enforce those laws that do protect the animals. So I just got really upset about a hoarding case that I had come across, and our local law enforcement told me there is nothing we can do about it. We don't have a shelter or animal control, and they just left it at that. And I just got so upset because these animals were suffering and they were dying, and it was a vicious cycle of them having puppies and the kittens and puppies dying from diseases or from other animals. And I just decided that I was going to do something about it. And I went down this rabbit hole and started reaching out to our state representatives, our mayor, our county executives, trying to figure out, why is it like this here? Why don't we have resources? And that was about 3 years ago. Then in January last year, I had a video on my social media go viral. And that was when I decided, all right, things are lining up. We have people who are wanting to support us and support this mission of helping these animals down here. So why not go for it? And it was really just magical. And I decided that I was just going to go for it.
Have you ever been involved in rescue efforts before this, or was it just the condition that you were shocked by and it inspired you to create your rescue organization?
Yeah, it was really just the condition. I had never been a part of any other rescue organization before moving to Georgia. I was just shocked by what I was seeing and passionate about trying to make change in this area, and so I just went for it.
Incredible. I love so much about what you do. You actually show what it's like, right? We're up in the Northeast. Yena's in New York. I'm in Connecticut. We see rescue dogs come through the shelter, but you actually show us these conditions that the dogs are living on before, and I think that just makes all the difference and is just opening up so many people's eyes and awareness to the problem at hand.
Yeah, I think it's so important to show that raw footage of what's happening down here. I'm gonna get emotional. It's heartbreaking to see this every single day. As you can tell, it can take a toll on anyone. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize what's going on out here in the South. And I say the South because down here in the rural parts of the country, we just don't have the laws that they do up in northern states or in other parts of the country down here. So it's really important for me to show people what's actually happening and how this is affecting so many dogs and how they're suffering so much. And we are a little bit different in this area because we don't have animal control and because we don't have an animal shelter. Like in other areas, rescuers are mostly pulling from shelters and they're doing owner surrenders. But because we don't have the necessary resources here, like a shelter or animal control, I literally am like animal control. I'm taking hundreds of calls a week. I get so many calls of people asking for help with resources or reporting stray animals or reporting neglect or animal abuse. And take as many calls as I can. Unfortunately, I have to prioritize, which is really hard because they all deserve help, but there's only one of me. So prioritizing is a big part of my job, and trying to figure out which animals are in the most life-threatening situations and how can I help them.
Absolutely. I think it's really important to show all of the aspects of it, because from our perspective, most of the rescues here, we see the dogs once they've already been sort of rehabilitated, and then you're like, oh, we're looking for our home, but we don't get to see where they were rescued from. And I think that is a really big part of understanding where the dog comes from, what they have been through, and it really primes us to have a lot more compassion for them, because some of them might come with certain trauma or negative experiences, and you can understand based on the context why they would feel that way.
That is huge. And I love that you brought that up, because we want to understand our pets. They can't talk to us, but they do have traumas and they do have triggers, and we can pick up on those things. So to be able to see where they came from, a dog being on a chain its whole life, or a dog experiencing abuse at the hand of a man, it's important that we can understand what their traumas and triggers are, so we can help them flourish and help them live the best life and make them feel safe. I love being able to show where they came from, how they're doing, and then where they're going. Because these dogs that I rescue dogs in general, they know suffering. And because they know suffering, they're so grateful. They're so grateful to have a bowl of food every day, twice a day, or 3 times a day. They're so grateful to have a warm bed to sleep in. And you can really see that. And they just want to please you and love on you and be loved. And they're some of the most special dogs out there.
They really are. Laura, you have a lot of experience here. All of your dogs are rescues. And for me, even last night, before going to bed, I gave Luke a little kiss on his forehead, and he did a giant sigh. And it just made me so happy that he's satisfied and feeling good, and that just got me in the best state of mind for sleep as well. It's all a very beautiful thing.
That's so precious.
Audray, I'm on the other side of what you're doing, right? So I'm up in the Northeast. I'm working with rescues in Connecticut and New York, and I see our advocates down there and the rescue partners that we have fighting for help this dog. There's so many dogs, right? And we try to say yes as much as possible. Then when they finally come up, I get to be a part of the intake of when they're at the shelter, taking them off the transport and checking them out and whatever wellness checks they need, medical and all that stuff. And then either bringing them to the foster family or the adoptive family, and then staying in touch with them once they make it home and seeing them like relax and know that they're safe and loved. I got a picture just recently this past week of a pitty who came up from Louisiana. And he's now like wrapped in a blanket on the couch, sleeping so peacefully. And it was like, this is probably the first time this dog has felt safe and loved. And just when they can relax and become such a happy puppy that they were meant to be. I love seeing adult dogs become a puppy for the first time because they've never had that ability to just be and not have to survive. I can't believe you said that you get hundreds of calls a day. How is that? Is that just word of mouth? How are people finding out about you? Like, what is that like? And who's involved? Who are you working with down there in Georgia?
Yeah, it's a lot of it is word of mouth. I've made myself known in my community. We have a local Facebook lost and found page form that people use to try to find the owners of lost or stray dogs in the area. And on that page, I've really made myself known to help and to give advice. And it's just been over the last year, people realizing that I am offering resources and I can help and I will help any way I can. If it's offering a bag of dog food to a hungry dog or even an owner who can't afford to buy a bag of dog food that week, or offering advice on how to trap a stray dog. I've just really made a name for myself in the area because there really isn't anyone else in our county or city that's doing what I'm doing. So I just get a lot of calls, and with us not having an animal shelter or animal control, there's just no one else to do what I do. I get a lot of calls from our sheriff's department. I've kind of partnered with them, facilitated a training for our law enforcement last year with a woman named Jessica Rock, who's a prosecutor against animal crimes here in Georgia.
Wow.
And she works federally as well. She's an incredible woman. And so I wanted to educate our law enforcement in the area about the laws that we have here and how to enforce them, because we don't have animal control. So really it lays upon our law enforcement to enforce those laws until we can get animal control. And the training went really well. Our police department sat in on it. Our sheriff's department sat in on it. We even had a judge. Our mayor was there. And Jessica taught a lot about the connection between crimes and animal crimes, gangs and dog fighting, domestic violence with abuse towards animals as well. We had that training in the spring. So since then, I've made myself known to our law enforcement and told them, look, use me as a tool. If you get a call about a dog needing help, call me. I will always do whatever I can. I can't make any promises that I can take a dog or whatnot, because my rescue is also foster-based rescues. We actually don't have a shelter, which is something we're going to be fundraising for very soon. So I haven't talked about that yet.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Little tease for us. All right.
Yeah. Little teaser there. But it's just something that's really, really needed for me and for this community, because there's just so many. So our law enforcement has started to utilize me, and we've been able to start to rescue a lot of dogs that would otherwise not survive. I'll just say that. So yeah, that's been great to work with our law enforcement, and we're starting to really work with our local government. Yesterday, I had a meeting with our county executive commissioner about our county getting an animal shelter. That's another exciting thing.
Wow.
Also, we're working with the county and city to get an animal shelter built that will be the animal control facility. It's not the answer, but it's a huge step in the right direction, because we don't have those resources here. I get so many calls about hoarding cases. Just this month alone, I've already worked a case with 15 dogs, which unfortunately was a friend of mine who was an animal advocate and a rescuer, and she had passed away unexpectedly. She was really well known in our community. I got the call at 10 p.m. that night from a deputy, and he said, we're working a death investigation right now of a woman, and she's got 15 dogs on the property, and we don't know what to do with these dogs. So they were calling me for help. And in any other situation in a county or city where you have the resources, those animals would have been brought to an animal shelter to keep safe until family can be contacted and get the situation figured out. But because we don't have that, they were relying on me. So we contacted some other rescuers in Chattanooga, and then in another county in Tennessee that we're all friends with this woman, and we all came together and went and rescued those dogs. But we really need an animal shelter for these hoarding cases. I'm working another hoarding case right now that I just got informed about this week, and it's 22 dogs that need to be rescued. They're living outside. They don't have shelter. We've had freezing conditions. I think with the wind chill, we've been down to 0 this week. It's been so cold, and these dogs are all living outside. And there was a mother with newborn puppies that were 2 weeks old that were just living out there with no doghouse, no shelter, no nothing.
I saw the video.
And again, I have to prioritize. Thankfully, a foster came forward, and I was able to get the mom and the puppies out of there, but there's still 15 dogs there that need to be rescued, and they're so skinny. I was able to give them some dog food. I'm going back there tomorrow to assess the situation a little bit more, take a head count, get pictures of all of the dogs, and then try to figure something out.
So currently, there's not a place for them to go unless there are fosters that are willing to take them in.
It is so heartbreaking for me, because I can only rescue the dogs that I have fosters for. And it's a plea that I put out into my community, and our fosters have to be relatively close, because, an hour away is maybe the farthest I'd like to use, because we have to vet them. I need to be able to work with them to figure out what like homes I'm going to find for them, how I'm going to adopt them out, that sort of thing. So I can only rescue dogs that I have fosters for. And this is why we are going to be fundraising for an animal shelter for Luck's rescue, because this hoarding case with this mom and the 2-week-old puppies that were out in the elements, they went there around like 5:30 p.m. and assessed the situation. And at that time, I didn't have any fosters lined up. That was my first time on the property, so I wasn't sure what I was going to be seeing. I couldn't take the mom or the puppies right then and there because I didn't have a place for them to go. So I had to leave them, which is so heartbreaking. And the only thing I could do was just like encourage the man to give them a better shelter, to bring them inside. They were like living underneath I guess it was like a skateboarding ramp or something, but it was like completely open on top and on the sides. So I was like, can you get a really heavy blanket or sleeping bag and put it around there so they can have some insulation though, so they can be out of the wind? Do you have any straw you can put in there? And just try to educate him and honestly just do the best that I could do with this situation. These cases that I work are usually, these people are in extreme poverty. So even asking them to hook up a heating lamp isn't realistic because they can't afford that bill, unfortunately. So my hands were kind of tied. The owners were very cooperative. They really wanted help. I got an idea of what the situation was, and then I just went straight to my phone at 6:30 after I left and started posting, putting that plea out there, looking for help, basically, like, can anybody foster this little family and get them out of the cold? I think at about like 10 or 10:30, I got someone who said that they could take them and that they would come out there right then and now and get them. So I called the guy up like 10:30 at night. Hey, can I come up there? We found a foster. I need to come get them. And then I went back up there and we got them out of the cold and they're doing really well. And it's a mom and her 5 puppies. They're going to be headed to our partner up in Michigan.
It's a relief.
Yeah, it's a relief.
They're not out in the cold.
Yeah, now that they're going to be going to our partner in Michigan, that opens that foster up to foster another dog. So we're just going to keep going at it and trying to get them out of there, even if I have to do it one by one. In the meantime, if I can't get them all out immediately, we'll focus on getting them spayed and neutered. And while they're on the property, I'll give the owner resources like dog houses, straw, dog food, flea and tick medication, getting them fixed. And then as fosters open up, we'll just start taking them off the property. My hope is that I can partner with another shelter or animal rescue to help me get those dogs out of there, because this hoarding case in particular is really sad. It's been going on for 3 years and I estimate that hundreds of dogs have died. He said that it's mostly the puppies that are dying. You know, they're the weakest. They're exposed to diseases. They're exposed to other animals. Even the other dogs on the property, there's been reports of some of the other dogs actually eating some of the puppies, which is gruesome and horrible, but these dogs are starving. And it's just the horrible truth of these situations. Like, it's really dog eat dog out there. They are in total survival mode and it's horrible. Yeah. And there's also 3 hunting camps that border this property. So I've had reports that a lot of these dogs have been shot over the years by hunters because the dogs are chasing off the deer. So it's a priority for me to try to get them out of there ASAP. And yeah, it's just hard.
You can only do so much really depending on your resources and the people who are willing to help you. It's a lot. You've taken on so much for one person. I don't know how you do it. You are so inspiring, and I wish more people would, see your story and want to get involved because you're really making such a difference. Yeah. I can't even imagine how many dogs you've saved over the last year or two.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
You talked about what that rescue was like for the mama and the puppies. I'm sure every day is probably different for you, but is that kind of normal, or do you have a typical day?
Every day is completely different. Like, some days I can spend the whole day at my computer and I have to prioritize my admin work because that's just as important as the field work to keep the rescue running. You know, I have a board. I have some volunteers. We're working on getting more volunteers. We are starting to hire a couple part-time employees. So I am working on building my support team because if I want this to be a successful rescue, we really need support. And if I want to reach my goals, I really need support. So we're trying to prioritize that. And it's exciting. We just hired an adoption coordinator, part-time, and a part-time kennel assistant and field work assistant. The field work assistant is going to be able to really free up some of my time, like taking dogs to the vet for health certificates or taking dogs to the vet when we have an emergency situation and all sorts of other things. So that is exciting. But yeah, every day is completely different. I have a schedule like every day, but realistically every day is different. I never know what I'm going to be getting into. Yesterday, I got calls all day about a stray pregnant mom roaming around, and ended up going and rescuing her at 5:30 p.m. and that took a couple hours. She wasn't super open to being rescued or handled at first, so I had to sweet talk her, and finally I just asked her, please let me catch you so I can give you a safe place where you can have your babies. And she finally gave in to me. It was really, really sweet. And she's
That's
literally
so
about
great.
to pop.
You did a great thing. I mean, it's 5:30, you know, I'm sure it was really tiring, but it's going to really pay off for
Yeah.
the dog, her pups, and also the future people that are going to really give them forever homes.
Yeah.
Given
Yeah.
given everything you've experienced, what do you think is the most important and most impactful initiative for rescue organizations right now?
Spay and neuter, 100%. That is, that is the only way we're going to get ahead of this problem.
Mm.
It is so much easier to spay and neuter an animal than it is to find 10 puppies a home. To find 10 puppies a home, that takes so many resources. For me, the vetting for each puppy before I adopt the puppies out, we get them spayed. They're up to date on all their vaccines. They're on dewormer. So an estimate, we're putting $200-$300 into each puppy alone to get them up to date and ready to get adopted. And then it's the resources of my adoption coordinator that is going to be looking for homes for these puppies, and then we're having to interview people who are wanting to adopt, and that takes resources and time. And then we do transport a lot of our puppies north to our partners, and that's a whole nother realm of resources and money, and like that all costs so much money. And so to spay and neuter, we're really lucky down here. It costs us $100 to spay and neuter a dog. All of that can be prevented by just spaying and neutering. And not to mention the suffering that these dogs go through. If we just spay and neuter and prevent these litters from happening, we can prevent so many homeless, wanted, suffering, neglected, abused dogs from ever having to go through any of that. Spay and neuter is the answer, 100%, and it's a big part of our program here. We just got a grant from Gold Noses Foundation this fall, where we were able to spay and neuter 75 owned pets in our community. So that's preventing a lot of litters from happening. And we're still working through it. I think we've got just a handful of spots left, but it was a huge blessing to be able to go into our community. I really hit some hot spots. Like I'm out in our community every day in the field, and so I have a very clear idea of where these communities are that are needing a lot of assistance, where there are a lot of suffering dogs, where there are a lot of dogs reproducing. I call them hotspot areas, and so I was able to go into some of those hotspot areas and kind of clean it up and prevent a lot of animal suffering from happening. So it felt really good.
That's fantastic. I love that this is a very organized effort where you're really navigating each area, seeing the situation, and trying to find the best solution, because ultimately we don't want any of these dogs to be homeless or in terrible conditions or, God forbid, hit by traffic. These are not what we want to see for the animals. So I love that you're taking a very short-term and long-term approach to this with grants and working with legislation, working with other departments to make sure that there are resources, because literally you were the only one before you started organizing and mobilizing, getting people together. So it's great that there's also this awareness, and now that people are combining their skills, their resources to make this happen. And for funding, you mentioned grants. Are there other avenues? Does social media contribute a lot to the donations? What is the most helpful avenue for you right now for resources?
Yeah. Obviously, like monetary donations, like through our Venmo, PayPal, or through our website are a huge help. I do so much community outreach. You mentioned dogs getting hit by cars. That's something I see a lot. We don't have any leash laws in our community, so people let their pets just roam freely, and you can imagine that's just a recipe for disaster. It allows the dogs that aren't fixed or spayed or neutered, they're just multiplying like crazy, because when a female's in heat, these male dogs are traveling at great lengths to go and mate. So many dogs are reproducing, but then also with the no leash law, that leaves dogs to be in danger by traffic, by getting hit by cars, and also being shot by hunters or by people, unfortunately, who don't want the dogs on their property. So one of the biggest programs I have is our emergency vet fund. And I get people calling me all the time. My dog was shot. My dog was hit by a car. My dog was poisoned. I don't have the money to take my dog to the vet. And I can't stand to see a dog suffering. It breaks my heart. Ugh. I've seen some horrible things and they just don't deserve that. So we have an emergency vet fund where I will take someone's pet to the vet to pay for their vetting to get them either, some dogs are too far gone and we've had to euthanize, which is mercy on them because they are suffering and it's gone too far. You can't heal them. And luckily we've only had to do that a handful of times, but I will spend up to like $1,000 on someone's pet to try to get them healed or back on the right track. If they have a broken leg or if, they have been shot, we can get the bullet out of them and get them on some antibiotics. And, that's where a lot of our monetary donations go to, is our emergency vet fund. I can't stand to see a dog suffer. And people can't afford vet care here, unfortunately. There's people that own pets and they can't afford them. I can't take the dogs away from them. So all I can do is try to educate them and supply resources to them. I do try to convince them to think about rehoming or surrendering their dog to my rescue, but that's not always an option. So I just try to do what I can to help them, support them, and get them on the right track. It's hard.
There's so many ways that you're taking in dogs and supporting dogs. And it seems like there's so many different funnels it seems like
it never ends.
It's never ending. A lot of what we're trying to do at MythBarkers is we want to address myths that are out there in the dog space. And we want to get to the bottom of them and really share the right information. So I think there's a misperception. And I know this being in the rescue space as well, like you, people think rescue dogs are damaged. They're damaged goods. They're coming with this baggage, right? Which I know is not true. But I'd love to get your thoughts on, what do you think when you hear that rescue dogs are damaged goods, given all of your experience?
It's a shame to hear that, because these dogs, I'm looking at my little baby over here that I rescued 10 years ago. Her name is Stella. She saved my life. I didn't just save her life. She saved my life. And these rescue dogs, they know what it's like to suffer, and they are so grateful to have a safe place and to be safe. And they're so grateful to know what love is, because in their previous life, they could have been abused. They've known hatred. They've known neglect. They've known suffering. And dogs are, man, woman's best friend. They just want to be loved and they want to serve and they want to be by your side. And they are not damaged. Rescue dogs are the best. That's my experience. To take a dog out of a bad situation, to watch them relearn what love is. You guys, I get so emotional. It's so rewarding.
Beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
Rewarding is the right word, because that's how I feel with Luke. Every step of the way where I feel like I've figured him out a little bit more, and every time he opens up a little bit more of his personality, it's rewarding, because
it is.
For Luke, it took a while. He's a little bit reactive because he was saved from a abandoned construction site, and the rest of his litter were frozen to death. So he and his sibling are the only ones that survived. And again, I haven't seen all of this background. I've only heard about it. But for that reason, he's had to fend for himself. And now that he's getting all of this love, I see him opening up. I see him relaxing, showing his belly, napping upside down. These are...
He's comfortable.
I would have never seen this in the beginning, and each step is so fulfilling in a way that I think is hard to describe. It's almost like you're overcoming something together too.
You are.
I'm sure Stella was that for you.
She was.
And we want to hear this story.
My sweet Stella. I love her so much. Years ago, I adopted her from the Humane Society of St. Paul, Minnesota. I had just gone into the shelter to get some puppy kisses. Like, I was kind of feeling down, and I was like, I'm going to go to the shelter and just love on some puppies. And little Stella, she was a 8-week-old little brown puppy with a black face. I went by each little kennel and said hi to every dog and every puppy. And when I got to her kennel, like, she was very playful. She was kind of like running back and forth, trying to play with me. And when I moved on to the next kennels and across from her, she just started barking at me. And then I would turn around and look at her, and she would stop barking at me. And then I would continue to kind of go on and see the other dogs, and she would just keep barking, and then she wouldn't stop until I would look at her, and I was like, what is going on with this little puppy? And I ended up going home that night, and I dreamt about her. And
I know what that's like.
I'm talking about you. Yes, I am. And I went back the next day to adopt her. It was the best decision I've ever made in my whole life. And she, my young adult life, she really helped me get through some major struggles, and she definitely saved my life. It's like, I didn't want to get out of bed some days, but I had little baby Stella that I needed to take care of, and she needed to go outside. She got me out of bed. She gave me motivation to go on a walk and get some sunshine with her, and that really saved me.
They keep us going. They keep us going.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that they're resilient. Some we're lucky to know the backstory, so many we don't. And to know the horror and the trauma that they've been through, and then their capacity to love.
Yes.
Yeah. And to open back up to people.
That's remarkable to me.
It is. And there's so many like life lessons in the rescue world. And then also like when someone decides to open up their life and they decide that they want to rescue a dog, there's so many life lessons that come from rescuing a dog. And with that comes responsibilities and challenges. And you learn patience, you learn love. You learn acceptance, you learn so much. And I encourage anybody and everybody to go to your nearest shelter and open your heart to a dog, because you guys, we are facing such a problem in the United States with stray, unwanted, abused, neglected animals, and they need us. We need to be their voice. We need to open up our homes and our hearts to them and give them the love that we deserve. And I promise you guys will not regret it.
Could not agree with you more.
Yeah, I've had zero regrets, not even for a second. It's been really incredible. Even when it's hard, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of beautiful things about rescuing dogs, giving them a second chance, giving them a different path at life. What would you say is your favorite part of doing what you do?
Gosh, my favorite part is just knowing that I am making a difference. Like, I have to remind myself of that, but to be able to rescue a dog off the streets, bring it home, get it in foster, and start to watch the dog, I call it blooming. Like, they're all little flowers and they're blooming. When they're with their fosters, that's their rehabilitation time. That's when they're learning what it's like to be loved, and then going on and finding the dog the perfect home. I often joke that it's literally matchmaking. Like, my job and the job of my adoption coordinator, we're literally like matchmaking. Every home is looking for like a different type of dog. Like, some people are looking for a dog that they can go running with. Some people are looking for a dog that's a couch potato. And every dog has their own personality and their own characteristics. It really is like matchmaking, which is really fun. The most rewarding part is seeing these dogs go home to their forever home, and knowing that I'm not only changing the life of this dog, but one of my most recent adoptions, she reached out to me and she was like, you changed my life for the better. And it does make me emotional, because I'm not just changing the life of the dog, I'm
changing the person's life, the whole family.
Yeah. That's a very special thing because, like I said, Stella saved my life, and to know that that dog can do that for someone else is remarkable.
It is a great reward.
Thanks.
The one thing that I wanted to ask, because I'm so curious about the legislation from state to state and what they have in place for homeless dogs, I was shocked to hear that there wasn't a system there. Do you think this is a common thing, or is it rare?
I think it's a little bit rare just because there are laws in Georgia. The animal protection laws are pretty basic. Dogs and cats, they need shelter, they need food and water, and they need a clean place to live. And unfortunately, the issue that I'm seeing in my community is, one, we don't have animal control to enforce those laws. We do have law enforcement, and when animal control is not present, it is the responsibility of our law enforcement to enforce those laws because they are state laws. One thing that I come across a lot with my local law enforcement, and it's something that we are working on. Like I mentioned earlier, we did do law enforcement training for them. But one thing that I hear a lot from our law enforcement is that they do not want to be animal control. So I'm just going to keep pushing our law enforcement to do the right thing. And we're going to keep pushing these trainings on them. And we're going to keep pushing for our community to hire animal control, because then there is no excuse.
I think that is the solution, because there has to be someone to enforce that. And I'm sure the police are also very inundated with other calls as well, so it's a very complicated situation.
It is. It's not so easy. It's very complicated, very frustrating. I'm here to hold everybody accountable and to set the standards much higher than what they have been in the past. And I can confidently say that we've made great progress this year, and I can't wait to see what this next year looks like.
It's awesome.
Fantastic.
Wow, you're making such a difference. We could talk all day with you. Audray, thank you so much for your time. We've talked about so many things. I'd love for people to check out Luck's Rescue and see how you can support them, whether it's, financial donations or your Amazon wish list or advocating for people in your local community to foster, because the more fosters we have, the more dogs we can save, get them off the streets or off, out of a shelter. And the importance of spay neuter, which just completely aligns with what we want to do. And we definitely want to help you.
Absolutely. This is such a great confirmation of all of the things that we believe in, and we're so grateful that you're here to share the story and the highs and lows of what you do. We're so grateful that you're doing this because it impacts so many dogs and people, as we discussed. Yes. If you can mention where we can find you, where we can donate, what would be the most helpful channels, you have the floor.
Yeah, okay. If you guys want to follow along on my social media, it's Luck's Rescue, Lucks Rescue. On Instagram, it's rescue_with_me_. Facebook is Luck's Rescue. And you can go to our website, www.luxrescue.com, to learn more about us and donate. I just appreciate you guys listening and hearing the issues that we're facing down here in the South with animal welfare. And I hope that everyone will follow along and continue to see the work that I do. And I encourage you all to be a voice for the animals in your area.
Yes, that's the message.
All right, Yena, I'll bring us home. So thank you, Audray. We really appreciate you joining us. And thanks to everyone listening for MythBarkers, where we're making pet parenting easier by sniffing out the facts and debunking dog tales. And we'll see everyone soon.
Yay. Thank you, guys. This was such an honor.